Successful Minds with Patricia Barnowski-Schneider, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Successful Minds with Patricia Barnowski-Schneider is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Patricia Barnowski-Schneider.
Hello, and welcome back to Successful Minds. I'm your host, Patty Barnowski-Schneider. Today, I'm joined by Daniel Dluzneski, author of First 5 Minutes, RET. He's a major security professional. So welcome, Daniel. I'll leave it to you to tell you a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure.
Again, it's an important subject about school safety. I now try to advocate towards parents to try to talk to their kids and find out what's going on in schools. But I'll tell you a little bit about my background just for the credentials. 24 years with the Secret Service. I was fortunate enough to stay in Washington, D.C. the entire time. I was a canine technician with my dog, Korak.
Nice.
And he lived, he was 13 years old. I was able to keep him as a pet after he retired.
Nice.
Some public affairs. I was at the Joint Operations Center as an official there. I was a crime scene search technician. So anyway, it was a great career. And then when I retired, I moved down here to Florida, and being an alpha personality, I had to do something. You just couldn't sit still.
Right.
So I found this job at the school system here in Pinellas County, and it fit my resume. And it was for an emergency coordinator with school safety. And this is now back, we're talking now back in 2014. So it's, almost 10 years ago. And they just started up this program for school safety. So I was kind of thrown into it. I had 100,000 students. I had no idea. I moved down here to Florida thinking, this is where people retire. There's no here. Oh my God, it was a very dense county. Like I said, 100,000 students, 140 schools. And I was it. I had no staff, no assistant director, no secretary, nothing, just me. Hey, Dan, go out and make these schools safe. Like, oh my gosh. But I was given the backing, and I made sure that every school had a safety plan. And we worked from the outside in. And fortunately, we did get some things done. There were a lot of mistakes along the way. This is back 10 years ago now. They were still using codes. They were still using weird stuff to call for a lockdown. It was just very, and I'd tell the story that most people in security industry stayed at, but police and educators really don't get along very well. It's just like oil and water. So it was very tough to just get involved in that and get and them to believe in what I was saying. So I just put my customer service hat on and we worked through it because it was all for the safety of the kids. Wow. So now I wrote my book. And the reason I wrote the book was after Uvalde, that horrible incident down there in Texas. And it made me very angry. Right. And my current wife said, look, you got to vent. You got to get something out there. So I wrote this book, and it's a guidebook. I'm not on these podcasts to sell a book. Look, it's 77 pages long. You read an hour and a half. But I wanted something out there that was simple, easy to read. You grab it, and there it is, common sense stuff. None of this 200 or 300 page diatribe. Right. Something, again, people just pick up, oh, okay, this, and you read it very quickly. So anyways, I did that. And now I just try to go on podcasts and find out what the audience is. And I want to talk to parents, moms and dads with their kids. And I want them to talk to their children to find out what's going on. Right. But, years ago, and maybe even now, you drop your kid off, you trust what the school does. Okay, they're good. I got to go to work. I got this, I got that. I'll pick you up later. Right. And that was it. We've seen since the pandemic, what parents found out what was being taught, what was going on in schools. And they raised their hackles going, wait, you're doing what? So I need parents involved in this, asking their children how they're handling their emergency drills at schools. Look, I have a 17-year-old, a teenager. You're going to get maybe 30 seconds out of their day, and they want to get back to looking at their phone, social media, whatever. So pin them down, get a moment. I know people don't sit down for family dinners anymore, but get together with your kid. I don't care what age they are, age appropriate, and just ask them, how are you doing emergency drills at school? Are you staying in the classroom? Are you running out of the classroom? Are you, God forbid, throwing things at a bad guy? Find out, and you're going to feel it in your gut going, wait, they're having you do what? Mm-hmm. So just, ask them and find out what's going on. And if you don't like it, talk to the school. Start with the administrators and the principals. If you don't get an answer there, go to a school board meeting, and then if not, step it up to your legislatures to find out what's going on. So we could talk a little bit about the type of drills and what I agree with and what I don't agree with. But I know you've got some questions, Patricia. So if we want to start with that, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, we definitely will we'll cover off so much, but I can say, like, I know, like, when you hear things on the news with all these schools and kids in terms going postal, it's different everywhere, because I grew up in Manhattan, and I remember back in the day, like, we had school safety there, and they had, metal detectors and whatnot. And the kids, believe it or not, the parents were worse. So the school safety, the kids would walk in, turn around, walk right back out. No one told the parents, because the school safety was like, I'm not getting a bullet in my head for telling this kid he can't leave. So meanwhile, these kids are cutting school. School safety is like, my hands are tied. My job is to make sure you're not coming in here with a gun. That's it. It's not my job to keep you here. So, and then when you do try to challenge a kid, no, you have to stay in school. Now you got the parent coming in, don't tell my kid what to do. So different, it's a tricky job, but we'll touch on all that. So now school safety, it's always been a top priority. So now how have recent events and trends shaped the way we approach it today?
Well, I tell you what, we talk about recent events, and people always go back to Columbine. How many years ago was Columbine? I 20, 30.
The lasting impression, yeah.
But that was a lasting impression because the media focused so much on what was happening there. And you do have, I say kids, because it is mostly kids that are doing these types of shootings, that follow this. They get involved in that. They somehow, their mind transfers over that these Columbine guys were heroes, and I want to emulate them, and I want to get more numbers than they did. And this stuff it's crazy. So it's just, but anyway, recent events. Recently, have we seen, and this has been carried over, so it's not something it's been going on for a number of years. Usually, I say not everyone, but the number of shooters at these schools are either current students or they're former students. So they know the school layout, they know the background, they know what doors are open, they know what gates are open, they know all this stuff. Now, I get pushback saying, well, they also know emergency procedures. Yes, they do. They do know the emergency procedures. But I tell you what, a locked door is a lot. That is a lot. So I tell schools, keep the classroom door locked during school time. Keep it locked. Now, you get some pushback from teachers saying, oh my gosh, the kids want to get up, go to the bathroom. They want to do this. They want to do that. Tough. Lock the door. You're already one step ahead of it when you have to go into a lockdown. Right. So that's the main thing is because, and the reason I say that, because we'll talk a little bit about these drills and what's marketed now towards schools, is that, oh, well, if they're in a locked classroom, they're sitting ducks. No, they're not. There has not been a case ever of anyone shooting out a locked door. They don't breach a locked door because it takes too long and it's tough to do. They will go to an unlocked door, and we've seen it. We've seen the videos of the Nashville shooting. That person comes in, locked door, move on, locked door, move on, open door, they're going in. So locking the door right away, first thing is the first thing you got to do in a normal lockdown. And what I try to say is keep it as simple as possible. The door is already locked. You turn the lights off, close your blinds. You put that little thing in the window of the door so they can't look in. You sit on the floor quietly, silence your phone. You don't listen to any announcements. You do not open that door for any reason. Right. The good guys are coming. Now, the reason I said my book was called The First 5 Minutes is because the FBI data, now this goes back some years because it takes a while to build up the data. Usually, your school shootings last about 3 to 5 minutes. Within that time, you're on your own. Teachers, students, you're on your own. The good guys are coming, but you're on your own. So don't panic. Think in your heads, this is what I have to do. We've done these drills before. You sit on the floor and you wait because the good guys are coming, okay? You're going to hear horrible stuff. You're going to hear stuff that you don't want to hear ever again in your life, but you're good. You're prepared. Like and I say, look, most people, and years ago, this is what happened when I would go to these schools. Oh, we don't need to do these drills. It's never going to happen here. Oh, why are we doing these drills? It's not going to happen here. I don't care. Right. Sandy Hook, I'm sure, said the same thing. I'm sure Parkland said the same thing. Look, I just want you prepared. That's it. It's simple. You don't have to do anything. You really don't. In fact, in my book, I have a card. And again, I'm not here to sell the book, but in there, you can download this little quick reference card. And on here, because you're going to forget stuff. Patricia, you're going to forget your name. You're going to feel what day it is. Your mind's going to go blank. You're going to, oh my God, you're freezing. I forgot something. Check the card. Oh, all right. I forgot to turn the lights off. And they use these because I found out I have a friend who's an emergency room doctor. She goes, "Oh, yeah, we use those all the time." I said, "What are you talking about?" She says, "Oh, they'll come up with some color purple. I haven't heard that in months. I don't know what that is. I got to look it up." So this is, again, just a tool that you can use because everybody has a lanyard that you wear with an ID on. You put it on there. If you forget something, you just check it out. Anyway,
Right.
but it's just something I want to keep it simple. Now, let's talk about the type of drills. Years ago, there was something called Run, Hide, Fight that was created by Homeland Security. And there's a video out there that was sponsored by the Houston Police Department. Really good video. It's got this guy gets all in black like a ninja, and he's got a shotgun, and he comes in, and they got the movie theater narrator saying, this and that. And if the first thing you have to do is run, okay? I'm going to get away from this guy. I'm going to run outside. I'm going to call 911. I'm in a safe area. If you can't do that, it's too late. You're going to hide wherever you can hide, under a desk, bathroom, in an office, whatever. Last thing you do as a last resort, of course, these are for adults, is you're going to fight. Okay? Terrific. Works good into corporate America. Business is fine. Somehow they transferred this over to schools. I don't know who in their right mind thought this was a good idea. No idea. You're going to tell, all right, and I try to get elementary schools because most of your school systems have elementary schools. If I'm a teacher in elementary school, I've got 25 or 30 children that I'm in charge of, that I'm supposed to keep safe. They announce over the loudspeaker, "Hey, there's a gunman on campus. We're in a lockdown." Teachers now have the liability of whether to run out of that classroom or stay where they're at. So if I'm a teacher, I'm like, unless I see this person 100 yards away and I can tell they're going in the opposite direction, I might think, I still wouldn't do it, but I might think maybe I can get to that exit before they come around and shoot at my kids. Right. And I got 25 or 30 kids, little kids. You're good. Come on, we're going. Well, what if everybody else in the school is doing that? You're all heading to the exit and you're going to pile up at that exit. I do not advocate that at all for anything. The only time run would work is at the end, you would evacuate for some reason when this thing is over. They got the gunman trapped somewhere or whatever. It's all a different situation. But on a normal situation, no. Hide, okay, yeah, you're already in a lockdown. The last thing is fight. I don't care if you're a high school student. I'm not having them fight an individual. No, there's absolutely no way you're doing that, okay? So now they said, well, let's tweak it. We'll tweak it a little bit. Instead of run, hide, fight, we'll just do the run, hide part. The fight part, we're not going to have students do that. Well, it's the same darn thing. I'm still not going to have them run out of a perfectly safe classroom. Nobody's getting in.
Right.
So the other thing that's out there now is called Alice. And Alice is a marketing company that came up with this acronym. And Alice stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, Evacuate. I know everybody, there's all kinds of acronyms out there. If you've ever been in law enforcement, military, whatever, these acronyms drive you crazy. But they love this, educators love this Alice. And the reason they love it is because it's reactive. When you're sitting on a floor in a classroom, you're passive. You're just waiting for bad stuff to happen. Or in my case, what I say, you're waiting for good stuff to happen. You're going to unlock that door and you're good to go. Right. And this Alice training, okay, the A stands for alert. I agree. Over the broadcast, you're going to alert what's going on. The L is lockdown. Yep, you're in a lockdown. Excuse me. The I is inform. The inform part is they want an individual in the school system to look at the cameras and announce over the loudspeaker where this gunman is going. Up, down, left, north, south, whatever. It's not possible. Unless you've got millions of dollars to spend, you can't follow someone in the school. It's not possible. So they got to the C part, which is counter. So they wanted to get away from the fight. We don't want to use that word fight. We're going to say counter because you're going to counter the individual. So, Patricia, this is how they're training. Now, they say they're not doing it for elementary school kids. I don't know what they're doing with them. But middle and high school, they're having the teacher and the students throw something if the gunman gets in the classroom all precisely at the same time to distract the shooter, to, I don't know, make them matter. I don't understand. Why are you throwing things at a gunman who's got into your classroom? Right. Anyway, there's videos out there of this, of these students throwing things. I'm like, okay, think about it. Just comments. I don't want my kid doing that. If you've got a child who's in like the worst terrifying experience in their lives, you talk about fight or flight. Now you're going to tell them, pick up whatever it is, phone, I don't know, whatever the heck you got, and throw it at somebody at precisely the same time incident as everybody else. In an hour and a half training, I give them the analysis of, let's say you've got a kid who's never shot a basketball before, and you bring him out to the court and you give him an hour and a half of training to shoot that basket. Then you take the ball away and you wait 6 months. He hasn't touched a basketball in 6 months. Now, in the worst possible situation, give him the basketball and you've got to shoot it precisely in that basket after 6 months of nothing. Impossible. There's no child development specialist, no child mental health specialist, psychologist, psychiatrist that agree with this type of training to throw something at a gunman. It's ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. Now, the last part of ALICE is E, which is evacuate, which is, what happened to Uvalde. They were going through windows and stuff to get out. But I disagree with this inform and counter. So ALICE training, we found out there's a company out there called safehavensinternational.org, run by a gentleman named Michael Dorn. They've done the research. They found out that these schools now are paying money in litigation just for the drills, just for the drills themselves, millions and millions of dollars in litigation liabilities. So stay away from this ALICE training. However, they market this stuff. They go to schools with it, and it's such a great thing. And these teachers love it because they can react. But look what's happened. Sandy Hook, that principal went out and challenged a shooter. They didn't survive. Parkland, gym teacher, went out and challenged a shooter, didn't survive. Nashville goes out, and Iowa goes out and you're unarmed. What are you doing? This is part of that ALICE training. You go out and counter and try to talk down the individual. Patricia, they're beyond that. Yeah. This is not something they woke up one day and said, I'm going to go shoot up a school. This took months and months of planning. They are at the end game. They're beyond the talking down. So I advocate now lockdowns. Stay in a lockdown. You're not sitting ducks. The classroom door is locked. They're not going to breach the lock. You're okay. The good guys are coming. I always try to point out the Nashville video of the police response, which was perfect. They come in room to room. Where's the shooter? They go, and they took him out. So it's just something that makes me pretty angry that there are a lot of schools out there that agree that they have this ALICE marketing. They think it's the greatest thing. It's not. And if you're a parent and you hear that term ALICE, or you hear run, hide, fight, or you hear options-based training, red flag should go up.
Yeah.
Like this.
It's almost like they're doing their due diligence to say we have a protocol, but they probably don't know that there's other protocols that you could and should be doing. Because I agree, if someone's gone to that extent, they don't care if they pretty much know they're not going to make it out of there alive. They don't care. They're already at that end game. And what do kids have in the school, especially, pencils, notebooks? I mean, it's not like they have bricks with them. I mean, so what are you throwing? If anything, if I come in and everybody's telling, I'm going to start shooting everybody. Not that I would ever do that. Just saying, if you're, it's just, they're not in their right mind already.
Thank you. That's the common sense thing. And I get that from a lot of people that say that, like, what the heck are they doing? Why they're going to make this guy or person even more angry and start shooting everybody. Yeah. So yes, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So now I guess regarding safety versus fear, how can we ensure schools are safe places for learning without creating an atmosphere of fear and anxiety for students? I mean, it's a tricky thing, but it's the world we live in.
I'm very glad you brought that up, because just recently there was a journal, it's called the Journal of School Violence, and it was up in Syracuse, and they did a survey, I think of like 1,600 students in 6th grade, and it was specific. They wanted to talk to students that had been involved in some kind of violence, whether it was bullying or fights or gunfire at home or issues at home, that's some kind of violence. And they had them go through a lockdown drill. And they asked them afterwards, they did a survey, asked them afterwards, did you feel safer with the lockdown drill? And the majority said, yes, I feel safer with the lockdown drill. Mm-hmm. So this idea that's coming out that these drills are traumatizing children, I really think it's false. I think it's the parents with I'm sorry, they call it helicopter parenting, but I think it's just these parents that just get all anxious about these drills saying, oh, you're harming the children. You're not. They feel better in the lockdown. If you explain to them why things are happening a certain way, and this is what we're going to do, it's okay. Calm down. Everything is fine. We're going to stay here. The good guys are coming. We're going to get through this. Right. So you talk about the fear. Yeah, it's going to happen. I agree. I mean, it's, again, no one knows how they're going to respond in an emergency. You don't know. You could freeze, anything. So the idea that I try to keep it as simple as possible, and in my book, I talk about implicit memory or muscle memory, which is again like something you tie a tie, put on a belt, put your seatbelt. You do it without even thinking.
Right.
So these type of drills of lockdown drills, I want it. And when that announcement goes, if you flip a switch in your brain, oh, I know what to do. We're
Right.
locked down. Here we go. And that's it. There's no reason to panic. No, and Patricia, I've done hundreds of these drills in schools, and I'm telling you, these kids are not naive. They know what's going on. They're fine with doing it. Even the little kids. I've had little kids in elementary school, and these teachers, I tell you, it's the toughest job I think in the world. However, they calm the kids down, saying it's a bad guy, hide from the bad guy, whatever it is they say.
Right.
And some of these elementary schools will even have bathrooms within the classroom. So the teachers will get a double protection. They'll put them in the bathroom, but 25 kids in the bathroom. Well, you don't have to worry about having to go to the bathroom
Right.
if you and at the end, we'll unlock the door with a key and come out of the bathroom. And these kids are beaming. I tell them, you did this great. You go get a gold star. And they are happy to do it. They're happy to help. I've had elementary school kids on a second floor of a school that had an open area in the middle. And you'd go on the second floor, and there's a couple of glass doors, and you'd walk in, and it's in the round. So there were 5 classrooms in this round area. And one of the teachers was designated to have to go out and lock the outer doors. Okay. So I said to him, do you have a plan B? What if you're not here? Or what if you get sick? Oh, then so-and-so in the next classroom over is supposed to lock the doors. And I said, well, what happens if you get ill or pass out or whatever? And immediately, this is 5th grade, all these kids raised, I know where the key is. I know where the key is. I'm like, oh my God. I said, let's go. And I had all those kids come out. It was in where a fire extinguisher was there. They took the key out and they locked those outer doors. I said, you guys are heroes. Because if that teacher passes out enough, you come out, lock those doors, run back into that classroom, lock the door, and you are safe. So these kids are not naive. They know what's going on. They know the idea. And we've been with these lockdowns for so long now. I understand it's, when you get to middle and high school, kids are just like, oh no, another drill. But it's ingrained. I don't think it's traumatizing at all. What's traumatizing is when you do these scenarios where you're shooting off guns and loud noises and stuff. No. What's the reason behind that? You're scaring the hell out of everybody. Just do the drill and it'll get in their heads and you'll be good to go.
Right. I think a lot of times too with the parents, they want to have their kids believe we live with rainbows and butterflies and nothing bad. They know we live in a bad world, but they don't want the kids to know it. Better to have them prepared. They're not stupid, as you mentioned.
Yes.
I mean, with any situation, if you're prepared, you feel a lot better. And like you said, you're not shooting guns, you're not traumatizing them. As with everything, teaching you how to write your penmanship. I'm teaching you, if let's just say we're playing a game and this worst horrible thing ever happened. What do? And that's going to make them prepared, and it builds the muscle memory. And, parents might not like you showing the real world to the kids, but rather show them before something happens than have them face it head on and say, I didn't even know what to do,
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yes.
So now you mentioned communication with parents, it's crucial. So what are some practical strategies for keeping parents informed and engaged in school safety initiatives? Because they're the tougher ones.
Exactly. I tell you what, but parents are very powerful. We've seen over the past year with the pandemic at these school board meetings and stuff, you get a group of parents together and they have some power. So number one thing is the school should be telling them when they're going to run the drill. Whatever type of drill it is, they should tell them ahead of time, look, we're running a fire drill or we're running an active shooter drill.
Right.
Just to let them know, because the worst thing is the child will go home. What happened in school today? Oh, we ran this emergency drill for active shooters and then we thought we were going to get shot there. They're, what? I got to go to school, oh my God. So no, it's as long as you keep parents involved and keep them informed, of what's going on. Now, we keep, like I said, we already talked about the part where I want to hear, the parents want to hear what type of drill they're running. That's a different subject. But this idea that the communication part, just let the parents know what's going on. So from that point on, if they disagree, again, you talk to the school, whether it's email, talk to the principal, and usually what they'll pass the buck. They usually say, hey, it's coming from the school board. My superintendent's telling me to do this. Okay, fine. Now we go in front of the school board and talk that way. And then again, you bump it up again to the legislation after that. But there's power in numbers. So don't do it alone. Grab a group of other parents that agree with you that this is wrong. I don't want my children going through this type of Alice throwing things at a gunman. No, we don't want that. We want to go back to just doing lockdowns.
Right. No, I agree 100%. And showing like worst case scenarios and giving your basic case study I mean, when you mentioned that throwing stuff, and I'm thinking, what do kids have in a book bag? Like, what would throw your shoe at them? I mean, that's not going to intimidate anybody.
Yeah, no, no.
Yeah. So now you express concerns about the effectiveness of certain drills. So can you elaborate on specific examples and potential drawbacks?
Yeah, again, the run, hide, fight that we talked about has been around for a number of years. They transfer that over to schools. I don't like it. I'm sure a lot of schools have gotten away from it. Some still have it. They thought it was a good idea, again, of running out of a perfectly safe classroom. But again, I get the pushback on that because they still think these kids are sitting ducks. They'd rather have them run out. I disagree because you're just putting them in a kill zone. You're putting them out in an area that you have no idea what's going on. You really don't have the correct information to take children out of that classroom to a supposed exit that's going to be safer. Again, unless you're 100% sure, don't do that. And this Alice training is marketed for that. They market this kind of thing towards schools. They make a lot of money on it. Even if you go to their website, they're not embarrassed to show how they handle this. I mean, I put on my Facebook page, there's a video, and they have adults that are acting as children, obviously, and they're barricading a door. And you see them putting a desk and they're putting chairs against this door. Right at the end of that segment, you see the door open out. So you're like, you just wasted time. What are you doing? And then the next segment is a gunman in the classroom with a gun pointing and yelling, saying, you did this to me, you did that to me, you bullied me, or whatever. And then I think there was another part where they do the throwing things at the gun. They throw them and then they go over and tackle the gunman. I'm like, okay, no. It's just embarrassing. It's just, as a parent, you should be saying, no, I don't want this for my child. This does not make me feel any safer. So that's where, again, the hackles should go up going, whoa, what's going on in the school?
And I agree 100% that, you don't have random people who just, if someone wants to just woke up on the wrong side of the bed and wants to go on a shooting spree, they're not going to a local school. Someone who's in there is somebody who knows that school very well. They're going to know what's open, what's not. If it were me, where would I go? What would be the first place? If I want somebody and I know they're in that classroom, what's the first place they're going to run? So I agree 100%. Lock yourself in the door, Yeah. So now are there alternative methods for preparing students and staff for emergencies that are less disruptive or potentially traumatizing?
No, that's why I said lockdowns have been invoked in a number of years. It's still backed. Department of Education, National School Resource Officer Organization backs it. It's still the number one thing to do. I know when, administrations change or new people get in, there's a knee-jerk reaction to change things. Oh, we have to change. We can't do the old stuff anymore. That stuff's no good anymore. We have to think of something different. No, stay with what works. You go with what works. And that was my whole thing. Whenever I did any of these drills, my reason for running these drills was to fix what was wrong. And I tell you, no one lives in a perfect world, and there are no perfect schools. Every school I've gone to had something wrong. Sometimes I'd have a drill and only half the school would hear the announcement. Sometimes I would go to a drill and the substitute teachers didn't have keys to lock the door. I mean, on and on and on. Just fix it.
Yeah.
Fix it. And we run this, classroom doors locked, you're going to be okay. So no, there's nothing out there that is going to, I say, de-traumatize or make it easier for children to learn. If lockdowns have started since they've been in elementary school, they're just going to carry it on. And they're just going to keep it. Now, I know as they get older, it becomes an issue because they won't be quiet or they won't take it as seriously. I tell you, and Patricia, I got plenty of stories. I've got North County schools, very elite, mostly white, very rich, that will run these drills. And they're talking and they're grab-assing and they're fooling around during these drills. I'm talking about high school and middle school.
Right.
Now you get down to South County, where it's lower income, different diversity, Black, Hispanic down there. You run a drill in a school down there and you don't hear a peep. And you know why? Because there are neighborhoods where you got shootings like every other night. So these kids take it seriously. Like, I'm not saying anything. So I would have perfect drills down there. I'd be dealing with these white kids up north going, what are you doing? So it's just a different dynamic. I mean, I was fortunate that I was in that type of atmosphere and how diverse this county was. Right. But yeah, it's a struggle. And even dealing with, we're on here talking about, I want parents to agree with me on a lot of this stuff. A lot of parents don't, and that's okay. to disagree with me, but I'm on here to tell you I want to keep your children safe.
Right.
Like I said, I've got a 17-year-old. He's gone through this thing for all these number of years. And I told him, number one question I get now is, if a teacher tells you we're going to run out of this classroom, and you as a student think, I don't want to run out of here. I don't want to run out of here.
Right.
What do you do? It's going to be a different dynamic from elementary school up to high school. Elementary school, yeah, you have to listen to the teacher. But I'm telling you, these little kids, some may panic. Some may say, my daddy's in law enforcement. He told me, stay here, or they'll just freeze or wet themselves or cry or whatever.
Right.
Stay in the classroom. And I told my son, Luke, it's up to you. But if I'm you and a teacher says we're running out of here, I would question that.
Adios.
Oh, right. Yeah, go ahead. But I'm staying right here, locking that door. We're not going anywhere. Yeah. So that's a difficult, very difficult question.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for people, I mean, obviously you have statistics out there, how often this happens, not every day, but obviously more than we would like. And then showing statistics on what everybody else, everything that ended bad, had you have done this, how this could have been prevented, how this could have, because I remember with Columbine, that was the first thing everybody said, why was the door open? Right. You know, and I don't know. So now I guess, how can we empower students to be active participants in creating and maintaining a safe school environment?
Very good question. And I will concentrate more on middle and high school. Years ago, when I was in high school, maybe you had this too. You had committees, and I'm sure today they still have committees, but we had safety committees. We would have kids that went around and checked the doors were closed and checked the big thing back then was smoking cigarettes, and nobody was smoking. I mean, you were actually snitching on kids. Nowadays, I want kids to take ownership of their schools on these committees. I don't care if you're going to law enforcement, military, be a fireman, whatever. You don't have to, but take ownership in your school. Maybe you've got a school resource officer, maybe you don't, but go out and walk around the school. Just walk around. I mean, during your study period, what's the big deal? Check for those doors, because I guarantee you, Patricia, today I can go to any high school. I'm going to find an open door. There's going to be a door wedged open. And why? Because they're getting a pizza delivery, or somebody's stepping out for a smoke, or some kid is late. They're going to have the door wedged open. And who's looking at the school? These potential shooters are looking at this stuff. So if you're a student in that school and you care about your school and the safety of the school, I don't care, walk around with the school resource officer if you have to. Make friends with them and walk around. You're not snitching on anybody. You're just checking to make sure the doors are closed and locked, because there should only be one entrance to that school during school time, and they are going to a lobby area that is enclosed. And if they're not allowed in that access, they go right back out, because the only way they're going to get in is if they're buzzed in, or you take a card and card swipe them in. So yes, I want students, involved totally in this kind of safety issue.
Right, they pretty much have to be. It's their life on the line.
Yes.
Yeah. So now, many parents and educators, they share your concerns. So can you offer advice on how they can advocate for changes to current school safety practices?
Same thing, like I said previously, about getting involved. And getting involved doesn't so much mean, with the PTA. Right. I don't know. I haven't really pushed towards what the PTA is really saying. But that might be a good avenue to look at if you're a PTA member. You've got some power. The school system. The teachers. You've been in the school. You've seen what's going on. Make your voice heard. Just say, I really don't agree with this type of training for these type of drills, and just find out where you're going with that. A lot of times, like I said, you'll get pushback because maybe the teachers like this Alice training. Oh no, I like it because I feel so much better. I feel reactive, But if you're a parent, say, look, I don't want my kid throwing stuff at a gun. I don't want my kid running out of the classroom. What are you doing?
You shouldn't even be face to face with them if that door was locked.
No, exactly. So, and again, power in numbers. Find out from Facebook, whatever your group chat or whatever, get together and tell them this is what we want. Resource. I mean, I don't have the resources on my site, but there are plenty of sites out there. One of them is safehavensinternational.org, like I said. The other one is a gentleman named Kenneth Trump, no relation to the former president. He's been involved in this like 40 years. He just got his PhD. He's got a very good website. I think his website is schoolsafety.org. But there are plenty of websites out there where you can get the information to say, look, right here, this guy's got 40 years of experience with this. He says Alice training doesn't work. Run, hide, fight does not work. Lockdowns work. So get your information behind you and your resources and go for it.
Yeah, you got to really just spread the word at it because it seems like Alice seems to be what everybody knows, but they need to know that's not the only one, and definitely not the most, uh, the better one.
No, exactly.
Yeah. So now, as technology and societal issues evolve, what innovative approaches can we expect to see in the future of school safety?
One thing I try to discourage is a lot of times when there's an incident, let's say there's a shooting in the next county or the shooting in your own state, and now the red flags go, oh my gosh, we have to do something. And what administrators will do will say, oh, we got a grant from the federal government or from the state, we can get metal detectors. We'll put metal detectors in. So they'll come, they'll put metal detectors in, and whew, all right, we're done, parents. We're good. See you later. We're safe. Okay. No, you're not. I say metal detectors are what's called security theater. They look good. They don't do anything. If I've got an individual who's crazy enough to get into that school and shoot people, you think a metal detector is going to stop them? No, they're going to just shoot everybody there. And they talk about guns because now the emphasis is on just the weapons themselves appearing in schools, whether it's guns or knives. Kids get bullied or kids, whatever, they bring a gun in. They're going to get it through the metal detector. I mean, they're either going to put it to their friend and open the door and get it in, throw it through an open window after school and an event, they'll get it in. So metal detectors are not the solution at all. They're not. Spend your money on training your people. And secondly, get school resource officers in that school because they're an advocate. I know they cost money, but they're an advocate for the teachers and parents and students. They're not there to arrest these students. They are not there to harass these students. They are there to protect those students if something happens. Right. So technology, not now, maybe 20, 30 years from now, maybe cameras will be much cheaper where you would be able to follow an individual. I mean, Patricia, you've probably heard about these gun detection technology where they can see a gun on somebody. And okay, in a perfect world, maybe that would happen. I mean, when I was working with the county, I was getting emails constantly from these companies saying, hey, I got an app. You got an app, you put it on your phone, press the button and they lock the doors and it calls the police and it does this and it does that. And then we went and tried it and it didn't work because the Wi-Fi went down or the 5G went down or in certain areas that you could get it on your phone. You're like, what the hell? So no, technology is one thing, but it's the human factor. Train your people correctly. That's going to make you much safer than some kind of technology out there.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, technology fails. And in everything from, think of the metal detectors. How's that working out for the airports? Stuff still gets through. The cameras, banks are still getting robbed, cameras and all. I mean, there's ways around it. And if these people are on a mission, nothing's going to stop them. So you have to really be prepared. And that's the bottom line. I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame it's the world we live in, but I'm all for preparation and is the key because you get caught off guard. I wouldn't know what to do, but at least if I could say, okay, this is what I remember, and you do what you have to do.
Exactly. Yes.
So anything we didn't touch on, you want to talk about?
No, I know it's a little off topic, but basically my past blogs have been about cell phone usage. And not only is it, I know I get pushback from parents about cell phone usage, but it is a safety issue also. Because if kids have cell phones in an emergency, they're getting distracted by constant texts or constant calls from their parents. And that distracts them from hearing directions from a teacher or the police or whatever safety thing is going on. And the other thing, personally, what's happened to me when these kids with cell phones, I had a large high school that had a bomb threat. So with a bomb threat, which I disagree with because there's no device, but with a threat, they evacuated the entire school of 1,200 children. They went 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet away. Well, now you have to bring the police and firemen in to look for the supposed device in this entire school. It takes a minimum of 2 hours in a school this big. And what's happened during that time? Here come the texts. I saw a backpack on the second floor and it had wires sticking out. Oh, no, it was on the third floor. Oh, no, it was in Mrs. Johnson's room. This just makes it tougher for everybody all around because they're sending these fake texts about a supposed device that nobody's ever found. I had another high school up here, another one with 1,000 kids. They had a student come in and say, hey, I think I saw someone with a weapon in the bathroom. Okay, we go into a lockdown. Here come the police. As their search is going on, here come the texts. No, Johnny, I saw him with a gun in his backpack in room so-and-so. No, it was Susan. This went on and on and on. And it's just frustrating because now the police have to search longer and longer and each individual for these stupid texts. And now what we're finding out is they can airdrop. They can airdrop between phones, like with 50 feet away, and make all kinds of suggestions and not find out who it's coming from. So I know it's off topic, but personally for me, cell phones should not be allowed in schools. If they are, they're locked up and put away. It's really destroying our kids. It really is. Here's my son, 17 years old. He's been with it since he was like 10 years old. And it's addictive. You can't get away from this dopamine addicting freaking just device, this instant gratification device. Yeah. Anyway, I get angry about it, but that's a little off topic. But there is a safety issue also with the cell phones in schools. But no, other than that, what I always say on every podcast is, number one, this is for everyone. Keep yourself safe first. Yep. You keep yourself safe first, then you're going to be able to help other people. I try to give the scenario of when that oxygen mask drops on a plane, what do they tell you? You put the oxygen mask on first, then you can help an elderly or a child. So always in an emergency situation, keep yourself first, and you can help other people. Secondly, armed SROs. You have to have them in your school. Forget about technology. You get armed SROs in there. These people are highly trained. They go through an immense training, not only to deal with students and parents and teachers, but yeah, I advocate for that. Those are the two things I advocate every time.
I'll just explain SRO.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I've been in law enforcement, all this acronym. School resource officers, gotcha. Armed school resource officers. Yeah. And again, they may be in uniform, they may be an off-duty police officer. They're not there to arrest you or harass you. Right. They're there to protect you.
I agree with you about the cell phones because one, I mean, I'm out of the loop a bunch of years now, but I knew cell phones weren't allowed, and I guess they are now. But even with kids, I mean, I remember this back in the day. You know, if they have a test, they haven't prepared for it, they're going to do that fake bomb thread because they know we're at a school. That test is going to be tomorrow. You know, I mean, they shouldn't have it, and cheating and all that stuff anyway. But I agree that it's a complete. And then you get how many parents? I heard something on the news. Text. Now you're getting the kids. They're supposed to be paying attention. So I agree. They shouldn't be in there. And now the kids are starting like in kindergarten with cell phones. It's bad, yeah. But yeah, I think, like I said, I think preparation is most important, and having the knowledge of what works, what doesn't work, what's the best approach, and just spreading that word and just passing it on. And like you say, power in numbers. So yes. Getting the message across to various schools and getting people on board, because at the end of the day, you know, you want what's best interest for your kids, you know? So yes, I agree 100%. Good stuff.
Yes. Good.
So now, how can people find out more about you, contact you, or learn about what you're doing?
My LinkedIn page. You can go on LinkedIn. Again, I got a last name that's kind of difficult, but Patricia on there. I've got a Facebook page called The First 5 Minutes, so you can find it on Facebook. And then my book, The First 5 Minutes, is on Amazon. And if you type in First 5 Minutes, it should come up when the first 4 or 5 searches there. And again, I'm not on here to sell the book, but again, it's like I said, it's 77 pages long. It takes it like an hour and a half to read. It's just a guidebook. But again, look at the other resources that I also put out there, and you can always contact me if you've got questions. But yeah, lockdowns work. Lockdowns help you survive, and it's a very simple way to keep yourself safe.
Right, and I mean, hey, if people could sit here and spend an hour reading the crappy magazines that they're reading, they could invest some time in something valuable.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for being on the show. Again, that was Daniel Dluzneski. So thanks for listening to Successful Minds with Patty B. Never miss an episode by subscribing. So thank you again.
Thank you, Patty.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Successful Minds with your host, Patricia Barnowski-Schneider. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we'll see you on the next episode.